Welcome back to another episode of What's New Wednesday. It is September the 4th of 2024, and we'll be talking about everything that happened between August the 28th and September the 4th. So there has been a sharp decline in active Bitcoin addresses, indicating a pause in the market, while short-term Bitcoin holders are being forced into becoming long-term holders, as almost 7 million of those Bitcoin addresses purchased Bitcoin near all-time highs. So they're stuck as bag holders. Prevalent mobile gaming development company Zynga has left the Web3 space. See you later, as its game Sugartown was purchased by the founding team's new game dev company called D20 Labs. So that's something we got to talk about. Round 2 of openloot social media openloot token airdrop campaign has begun August 31st. And we also have Boss Fighters that's now live 24/7, and players can play for free and earn Flex. We'll talk about that. And on the big time front, Big Time has released a patch for their new Telegram game, Clockie Chaos. We talked about it a week or two ago, which is further refining the way to earn open loot reward points in that Telegram minigame. And last topic we're going to talk about is Big Time's Showdown has reached its last week. For the final Showdown starts September the 9th, but this is the week that has to do with gameplay. It's the 5th week. And is this challenge, the Clockie Carnage is what they call it, giving some unintended warning signs about the game's player base? We'll talk about that quick, but let's jump into it. We'll start taking a look at Bitcoin. All right, that is Bitcoin on the 4 hour. So last week we talked about how the price surge that happened on Friday the 23rd of August took a nosedive and liquidated over $340 million worth of longs across the crypto market. And a big part of that was because Bitcoin dumped below 60K. We also talked about how last week we read some articles indicating that this could be part of a larger bullish price continuation pattern. And even though that might be true for the coming months, that this might be part of a larger bullish price action, right? Like this could be part of a larger bullish price action continuing into October and November. What does that mean for September? What does September look like? And it feels like in the short term, maybe like a couple weeks sort of price prediction, things are really starting to cool off, and there's a few things that indicate that. So like I said when we started this video, nearly 7 million people purchased Bitcoin between the price ranges of 61K and 70K, right? A lot of the Bitcoin holders right now, especially if they're like new investors and things like that, they bought between 61K and 70K, right? So they're all bag holders right now, and when nobody wants to sell at a loss, right? So yeah, that kind of means that this $10,000 price range between 61K and 70K is going to be a battleground that a lot of people don't want to fight inside of at all. They'd rather sell above that, right? So everybody's kind of got cold feet right now. Yeah, so I think that's kind of pushing people into this kind of wait and see sort of holding pattern. Also, another factor that has made a lot of people pull Bitcoin off exchanges and to just leave their wallets alone and not be using them to do any trading is because September has been a bearish month, where 6 out of the 7 Septembers, the past 7 Septembers, have closed in the red with an average of 4.5% decline. And if you look, like since this September started, we've already slumped like 5%. So I'm pretty sure a lot of people are basically just walking away right now. They don't have the liquidity to buy more. So yeah, I mean, it looks like the crypto market is cooling off, and it will be pretty cool over the span of September. We might see some chop, but you know, let's take a look at some articles here. This article here says that holders are at a loss. Holders at a loss in 61.7 to 70.5K. Almost 7 million addresses purchased Bitcoin between these ranges at Bitcoin's current trading price of 56,000. Every trader who acquired that asset at this range is currently at a loss. So they're all bag holders. For BTC to absorb all the sell pressure that would be within that range and break the trend and then jump to new all-time highs, the cryptocurrency would need significant significant momentum. And unfortunately, Bitcoin has a history of bearish Septembers. It would likely not see the necessary momentum to break through this month, right? So not looking so good for September. This one's sort of talking about the same thing. This article has a couple things. According to market expert, unlike previous bear markets, the substantial decline in the number of active Bitcoin addresses in 2024 points to a halt in market activity. This pattern is indicative of a wider resistance in the cryptocurrency space, where decreases in trading activity are the result of volatility and uncertainty. It's weird that they say that this is unlike other bear markets, when you can see a sharp decline in Bitcoin active addresses back in 2018. Then we saw a lot of bearish price action going to 2019, and then after that we finally saw things go up. So what's different this time? This one's kind of the same. Deep drop in active wallets, and then we see the bull run sort of end going into the end of 2022. So we've seen a sharp decline in active addresses this time, but price is kind of acting a little bit funky. Is that what they're kind of saying? That's kind of what I gather, because if we zoom out, right, we can get an idea about what they're kind of saying more if we look at the chart this way. Because, you know, in this chart, 2018, they're basically saying they saw a sharp decline in addresses, like right about here, right? So right here, sharp decline, and then we saw the prices dump, and then we have the bull run of 2019. And then once again, we have a sharp decline in addresses, but price action is a little bit different here so far. What does that mean? I do think that we're going to see a pretty bearish September, but we still might see a bullish price continuation pattern that is a bit different than the last one, than the last couple of times we've seen addresses down at this low. So what is another factor that could be causing this? This article also sort of talks about this. Sharp reduction in active addresses in 2024 indicates a pause in price action, and it says, despite price stagnation, investors are cautiously observing, influenced by external factors such as ETFs and the US election. If you take a look at this article here, it talks about how, you know, simultaneously we're seeing way less active Bitcoin addresses, but we're seeing huge inflows into the Bitcoin spot ETF. About $500 million just entering into the ETF in the past week. That coincides with, you know, the looming US election, where some investors feel like, depending on who wins, the crypto market may or may not sort of survive. But, you know, I like to play devil's advocate with that. We don't really know which candidate would actually be best for crypto. Typically, if you have someone on one side and they're basically voting for anarchy in the crypto market or some regulation, what's more important? What actually helps the market succeed? Sort of depends. Some people think that you should just be able to do whatever you want, but I actually don't really think that personally. But I think, yeah, not saying which one's better. Once the result is in, regardless, I think that we'll have a lot more of a clear direction when it comes to the crypto market and where it's going to go. So yeah, I mean, that's that for the crypto market. It seems like, as far as September goes, bulls are going to have a really hard time breaking above 62K, and bears are going to be doing everything they can to sell between 62K and 70K to try and recoup their profits. So it's going to be a little bit of a choppy ride, I think, throughout September. Hopefully we get some more price action going into all-time highs coming October and moving into November when the US election is over. All right, that's it on the Bitcoin crypto front. Let's take a look at blockchain gaming. A year or so ago, Zynga announced their entry into blockchain gaming with their title called Sugartown. I was initially excited to get into this product, but was soon thwarted, as it turns out that Canadians can't even play Zynga or do anything on Zynga. Only a few countries are allowed to do it, so my interest for it kind of waned. I've been sitting on the sidelines, looking in, watching the project progress, and seeing some pretty positive things. It seemed like the community was pretty solid and things like that. They had a successful mint. There was playable content, but I guess behind the scenes, there were issues where the founding team of Sugartown were having maybe a hard time delivering what the community wanted, because they had this corporate overlord, this big business, big game development company looming overhead saying what you can and can't do, because, you know, they have to do their best to protect their legal side of things, right? So that seemed to be like kind of what was happening. And then Sugartown just put out a huge announcement. They'd been hyping it up for a while. their positioning is that, you know, the historical moment, Zynga's out, D20 Labs is in. And what is D20 Labs? It's a new game development company literally created by the founding team of Sugartown, and it's the whole purpose of this company is to build Sugartown. So we'll see where this game company moves after this, but you know, it really kind of depends on, are they going to be able to make Sugartown a success? But okay, so now that D20 has acquired Sugartown from Zynga, the community seems to be a bit divided. On one hand, like if we just look at this post, we can see the comments, right? On one hand, they're like bullish. Eliza's a really awesome content creator in the space. Massive Web2 companies wouldn't give you the freedom you need to build cool shit. Godspeed. And then you have someone like Jonah, who you love him or you hate him. So he's saying, not to sound like a futter, but is the big announcement is that Zynga divested? Isn't that why people like Sugartown? I want to hear the rationale, right? So you have quite a bit of people who are like bearish because they were excited about Sugartown because there was this sort of larger game development company in the mix doing something in the space, and they thought that would bring some good stuff for it. I don't know where you entered the ad and when you left there, Mr. Best, but if you're still talking about when we were talking about Bitcoin stuff, I essentially just said that you're right. It doesn't matter really who the winner is. It's just the fact that the election will be over will definitely help crypto get its shit together. But as far as Zynga goes, you know, you see this guy, your entire game thesis was, we are Zynga. Without Zynga, what are you exactly? You've built nothing lasting here outside of the Zynga narrative. So some people are pretty bearish, some people are pretty bullish. Because I wasn't too involved in the game, I don't really know how to feel about it. But a couple weeks ago, we talked about another popular Web3 game, Dimensionals, which left Web3 entirely, and in so doing, abandoned their community who had invested in the game by buying NFTs, etc. And this is different, right? It almost feels kind of the same. It was like maybe Sugartown was at a crossroads between, do we stay in Web3 and remove Zynga, or do we leave Web3 and screw over our community? But it seems like Sugartown has done this a bit different. Instead of the Sugartown leaving Web3, the founding team decided to purchase the IP and keep building the game with blockchain, which to me, like, I see like it could be like them, the team really caring about their community and wanting to make sure that they built a game that is, you know, right and doesn't screw over the community. So I'm not really sure if that was a similar scenario, but it totally could have been. It could have been Zynga backing away from Web3 and wanting to take the Sugartown IP with it, and then the creators of Sugartown deciding, no, instead we're gonna buy the IP and keep producing something that our community will like and that won't screw them over. You know, all the people who minted NFTs, etc., and have bought NFTs. So I don't know. Like I said, I'm not a part of the Sugartown community because I can't play the game anyways. But if you are, let me know what you think. Do you think that Sugartown being acquired by D20 Labs and Zynga leaving is going to be a good thing for the game, or do you think it's going to matter at all? I mean, it apparently is essentially the same core team, right? So is there even going to be a difference? What do you guys think? All right, that's kind of it for the Web3 gaming front. I wish Sugartown the best of success, and hopefully one day I'll actually be able to play it. And in the meantime, screw you, Zynga. We don't need you anyways. But okay, onto the openloot front. Openloot social media points. Second round of the openloot token social airdrop campaign has gone live. And on the openloot front, we're also going to talk about boss fighters. They finally went live 24/7, which is, I've said this so many times, it's my least favorite thing about games is when you can only play it for a certain amount of time during, you know, a full moon with, you know, I don't know. Point is I'm stoked to see that boss fighters is live 24/7. But let's talk about openloot and the social media points campaign. Round 1 has ended and round 2 has begun. 850 participants in total won in round 1, with 50 participants earning 20,000 openloot reward points, which is 200 openloot, or 800 participants winning 5,000, which is 50. Very small airdrops, which sort of indicates that the supply that that's gonna be in the market early on is probably gonna be pretty small. Makes me feel bullish. But okay, so this next round of openloot started August 31st, 2024. But you know, with a new round opening, I thought it might be helpful just to remind us of a few things about how the openloot loot social media campaign works. So winners get open loot reward points, OLRP, that can be converted 100 to 1 into the actual open loot token once the open loot token is live. There is a 3-day lag between the time that you make a post or retweet a post and when the points will show up on the dashboard, when they'll actually show up here. And participants can only have 3 tweets per day counted. So if you're posting 10 posts a day that are using the app mention openloot and hashtag openloot and they're just garbage posts anyway, too bad. You're not going to get points for them all. There's also now a task list where they will be putting out different sorts of activities that you can do, like retweet this specific post that will help you boost your score. So keep an eye on that. But anyways, yeah. So do the task list, guys. Make sure you're doing the task list. It seems like moving into round 2, also, they've maintained the double point boost that was there for the final week of round 1. So, you know, it said 2x point week completed. Looks like we're still getting 20 points per social media post now and 2 to 2,000 points per post. So that's something interesting to keep an eye on. So maybe round 3, the points are going to be doubled again, potentially. So yeah, you can expect to earn twice as many social media points as before. Just don't confuse the social media points with open loot reward points, right? So social media points are not the same as open loot reward points, OLRP, just as a reminder. And your open loot reward points from round 1 will be awarded in your open loot account within the 2 weeks of the conclusion. So 2 weeks from the 31st of August, you should expect to see your open loot reward points in your account if you haven't already. If you go to open loot, you go to premium currency, there you can see your balance of open loot reward points right there. That's it for the open loot reward points, guys. If you want to get some open loot token, make sure you're participating in this social campaign. It's really easy to do anyways. Just do it. Takes us a couple seconds. Get yourself a couple hundred tokens. Those tokens could be worth $10 for all we know. All right, last open loot topic. So we've been covering boss fighters for a bit here on What's New Wednesday. We're talking about these airdrop campaigns they were doing, and now August 31st, Boss Fighters has gone live 24/7 and free to play to the public. You can play on PC or VR, and apparently it's all possible to start earning flex. It's farm flex over 7 days, worth around $15, and you'll have enough craft and recharge a common badge if you have a common showrunner contract. This is how you'll monetize your gameplay in Boss Fighters. So that's how you'd be getting BFT token. As my understanding, you need to have the showrunner, which is essentially like Big Time's version of a time warden, and a badge, which is like Big Time's version of an hourglass, and you need flex to charge your badges. Apparently you can earn flex in game, but I played the game for several hours last week when the game first went live, and I wasn't able to earn any flex. So I'm not sure if there's some sort of prerequisite to earning flex. Like, do you need to wear a certain NFT or something? Do you need to have a skin equipped or something? Maybe. If you guys are more avid boss fighter players than me and you know the answer, be sure to educate the class in the comments. But my feedback from my first solid play session of the game that I had for like a year, I played it like a year ago, is that it's a lot of fun. It's quite buggy though. Rounds would often end with no warning and no clear winner. Matches found wouldn't even load into the game sometimes, so you'd like see some of your buddies in a match, and before you could even play, the game would just go back to the menu. But yeah, the gameplay is fun. It's buggy. It sucks to like try and jump into a match with someone and then the game crashes, or not being able to even see who won because the game just stops working. Seems like mainly their network connectivity stuff, so hopefully we see some patches come out soon to help make that more stable for everybody. But the gameplay is fun. Still very clearly a beta product, but I can see people spending a lot of time in that game for sure. If you haven't played Boss Fighters yet and you're in the Web3 gaming space, this is a great time to start giving it a try, brush your skills up so that you are able to play a little bit more competitively when the economy fully comes out. Might be a good idea. But that's it for the open loot stuff. Let's move into the big time focused stuff. Clockie Chaos is a big time mini game, but in my opinion, it kind of spans between open loot topics and big time topics because its purpose is to give the open loot community more ways to earn open loot reward points, OLRP, and by extension, the upcoming open loot token airdrop. The only thing that's really big time about Big Time's new Telegram game, Clockie Chaos, is the Clockies. That's about it. But anyways, last week we covered, was it last week? A week before? We covered the fact that the Big Time put out this Telegram game. And since then they've released their first patch, and it's just basically geared towards balancing the game, making sure people can't just AFK farm it, etc. Here are the changes. Boosters. The level safety net booster has been removed from the game. I'm not really sure how the boosters work. I've never used them, but essentially you could bend something like a soft currency to get. And the Eternal Master Booster has also been removed. Time shards for both boosters have been refunded. So you use time shards to get the boosters and they boost you. But anyways, if you did that, your time shards have been refunded. And all boosters have been refunded as the cost associated with some of them has changed. If you bought boosters at all, then you're going to get something back. And yeah, the booster costs have been adjusted. In the game, Clockies now spawn more frequently and move faster. A new mechanic has been added. If a Clockie bounces off the right wall 5 times, the game ends. I noticed that I was playing it the other day and I was like, why does my game keep ending? The moment it touches, like, you got these Clockies moving at the bottom of the screen, right? You have to be putting them into the game yourself, or else if it like auto paths onto the screen, then you only have 5 chances for that. So I think that's a good change. It helped make sure people aren't just AFK farming the game. New mechanic has been added. If a Clockie bounces off the wall, I just read that 5 times, then the game ends. And then your starting in-game level now corresponds to level in the app. So if you're level 30, then the in-game you're gonna start at level 30, which means you're starting at like crazy mode and things will be happening super fast and scary. Rewards. A new reward screen has been added to explain the reward system. So pretty basic, but if you guys are looking for another way to earn open loot tokens, then you should be jumping in this Telegram game. Final topic. This one's kind of going to be a bit of a doozy because we're going to go on a bit of a rant. I go on rants sometimes. It's the final week of the Showdown before the finale. The finale starts on September the 9th. Here's the schedule, right? We're in Clockie Carnage. Very Clockie themed Big Time section this week. We've got Clockie Chaos, and now we've got Clockie Carnage for Showdown. But how do you qualify for this week? It's really simple. You kill the Clockies. Only Clockies found in dungeons and portals will count for the Carnage. You go to round 5, you can see there's a list, and on this list we see 1,040 players exported into an Excel spreadsheet. But now that we got that out of the way, let's talk about the game and what this final round has indirectly kind of helped show the community. Big Time is clearly a bit stale, is what I'm getting at. Token drops are passable at best for prestige players, and free-to-play players and prestige players are alike. They're having a really hard time finding a party. I personally have been trying to participate in this final round, but like the amount of time and effort it takes for me to maintain a party makes it really difficult to do any decent Clockie killing. There's not a whole lot of Clockie Carnage capability when I can't keep a team together. So what I do see though is a lot of groups of players who must be part of some group that do their party finding outside of the game. These people never interact with the average player. They're clearly like the biggest value extractors in the game. I did manage to play a few dungeons yesterday, but yeah, like I still can barely find a party. And I can't even find myself on the list of competitors yet. And I know I've killed like a few thousand Clockies by now, so I'm not sure what that's about. Maybe that's just a me thing. There are over 1,000 competitors on here, so I can't imagine it being that hard. I've definitely killed some Clockies. So like I said, there's these groups, and we've talked about these groups in Big Time before, the last Showdown too, and there was a gameplay sort of event. We really pointed out towards this very specific groups of players who are essentially a Big Time business, and they make money off of getting people to play Big Time, right? And they're the biggest extractors. They're always going to be the people who have the most gameplay because they have, you know, several computers set up with accounts going, and people can just play it 24/7, right? And people will get like a cut, I guess is the idea. So who are the contestants on the top like 500 of this list, with some exceptions, of course? Most of these players have questionable intentions at best as far as Big Time goes, and a majority of these players don't play with any other players. They just play with their little group of value extractors. Normals killing Clockies count on Showdown. It should. Last time normals counted, and it doesn't say that it doesn't. It just says it has to be a dungeon or a portal, so normals should count. But yeah, so it's like, okay, so the first 500 people on here, a majority of them basically they don't even interact with anybody else in the game. They're just building parties outside of the game, probably part of some sort of farming ring, and it's like, okay, cool. So this doesn't really look great to me for Big Time. Whenever they do these gameplay events, it always just just sort of points towards how at least 500 of the players, people who are playing every day, are just literally just value extracting to the point of like, how do you have 897,185 points? That's a lot of Clockies. And if you think about it, right, like, okay, so there's 1,000 people on this list, and we can probably assume that there might be maybe double the amount of people on this list as daily active users at this point. So not only are a majority of the players on here essentially bot, but there's not that many players in big time right now. And why is that? Is because the game is stale, hard to make parties. Like, you see people playing the game, but they won't even give you the time of day to let you join their party. So these sorts of things are giving some not so great signs for big time, in my opinion. But like, what does big time need to do about this? Like, what's the solution? How are they gonna solve this? What does big time need to do to create a player base that isn't so conglomerated, right? That is more diverse, that have people who are actually playing with other people. Either way, you know that I love big time, and I'm definitely in the big time camp for the long haul, but these play the game type showdowns, like I said, they just tend to rub me the wrong way. It basically just makes me feel like there are two camps in big time. There's the normies, and then there's the businesses. And it feels kind of like retail investors versus financial investors. Retail investors just get caught in the middle of the market forces dictated by big finance, and they just have to try and survive, right? Pick up the scraps, do whatever. What does all this sentiment sort of do for the market? What does not being able to build a party do for the market in big time? If we take a look at big time marketplace quickly, right? Just take a look at hourglasses. We're not going to look at anything else right now, but hourglass prices are not getting any better. They're not. And they won't get better until big time can cultivate a healthier player base. That's not just this giant conglomerate of bots. What we will, I'd rather call them bots than try and degrade them in any other way. It's just annoying because there's the normal players and then there's the bots. So what are they going to do to cultivate a healthier player base? They got to do something, right? Because right now, why is a rare hourglass $36? It's because there's 437 of these on the market, and guess what? There's not 437 people who actively are buying hourglasses right now, because why would they? What can they do? But yeah, let me know what you guys think about big time. If these gameplay things are something you enjoy, or if you feel a little bit tilted like I do whenever they happen. That's it for What's New Wednesday this week, guys. If you are watching this in the future, be sure to like, make sure you subscribe, make sure you leave a comment down below, and as always, don't forget to tell somebody about it, and I will see you guys next week. Peace.